Hey, good morning. Good morning. This is Byron Bradford. Today we're going to talk about missing weapons in the military, and some of these weapons are being turned up, being used in crimes in certain American cities, U.S. cities. This particular article come out of the Military Times. It was printed out 2 days ago. I'm going somewhere with this, so just follow me. I'm gonna make this brief. I'm gonna do this in about 7 minutes. I'm gonna follow up with this video with another one pertaining to Vanessa Guillen and Fort Hood and Armory. All right. And this particular article starts off, this guy was running from a cop, I guess, pulling a pistol from his waistband. The young man spun with his hand shielded toward police, and he threw the weapon toward the police and let I guess he had a hostage at that point in time. They soon they soon learned that the 9mm Beretta had a rap sheet. It had been involved in 4 other crimes in Albany, New York. And there was something else. This pistol was U.S. Army property in Albany, New York. A weapon intended to use against enemies, however, is now being used on American streets. Go figure. The Army couldn't say how its Beretta. The Army couldn't say how its Beretta M9 got to New York's capital until June 2018 police foot chase. The Army didn't even realize someone had stolen the gun. Inventory records checked by investigators said the M9 was 600 miles away in good old Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was stationed there, 1st Bat 319th. It's incredibly alarming, said the Albany County District Attorney. It raises the questions as to what else is seeping into the community that could pose a threat, a clear and present threat or danger. The armed services and the Pentagon are not eager for the public to know the answer. Of course not, because people will get fired and they will not get their pension and their life would be over as they see it. In the first public accounting of its kind in decades, the Associated Press investigation has found at least 1,900 U.S. firearms were lost or stolen during 2010s, with some resurfacing in violent crime. So here we are 8 years later. I think this thing is still happening, to be honest, because some armed services have suppressed the release of basic information. Associated Press total is a certain undercount. Government records covering the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, and Air Force shows pistols, machine guns, shotguns, and automatic assault rifles are vanishing from armories. Probably not only active duty, but also reserves, probably also National Guard. Supply warehouses, Navy warships, firing ranges, and other places where they've been used, stored, or transported. These weapons of war disappeared because of unlocked doors, sleeping troops, a surveillance system that didn't record, or break-ins or other security lapses that, until now, have not been publicly reported. While AP, Associated Press, focuses on firearms, military explosives were also lost or stolen, including armor-piercing grenades that ended up in an Atlanta backyard. I remember the grenade scene living in Killeen, Texas, washing dishes one day. I think I was a freshman in high school, and I'm sitting there by the window washing dishes in my neighborhood. And I heard a big old boom. And we lived near the base. We weren't on the base, we were near the base. But this boom was particularly close. And come to find out, someone had got a grenade. And this was in the 80s. So, it happens. And that was my personal experience. So I know people get stuff out of these organizations. Weapons theft or loss span the military's global footprint, touching installations from coast to coast, as well as overseas. In Afghanistan, someone cut the padlock on an army container and stole 65 Beretta M9s. The same type of gun recovered in Albany. I'll say want to blame it in Afghanistan. This happened. Good night. It can't set responsibility. The theft went undetected for at least 2 weeks. When empty pistol boxes were discovered in the compound, the weapons are not recovered. Even elite units are not immune. A former member of the Marine Special Operations Unit was busted with 2 stolen guns. A Navy SEAL lost his pistol during a fight in a restaurant in Lebanon. Wow. The Pentagon used to share annual updates about stolen weapons with Congress, but the requirement to do so ended years ago and the public accountability had slipped. The Army and Air Force, for example, couldn't readily tell AP how many weapons were lost or stolen from 2010 to 2019. So the AP built its own database using extensive Federal Freedom of Information Act requests to review hundreds of military criminal case files or property loss reports, as well as internal military analysts and data from registries of small arms. Oh, Lord. Okay, we skip on down here a little bit. This is getting funny. It's about the money, right? Says this BG Miller, who's Deputy Provost Marshal General, is #2 law enforcement official. Theft or loss happens more than the Army has publicly acknowledged. During an initial interview, Miller significantly understated the extent to which weapons disappeared, citing records that report only a few hundred missing rifles and guns. But an internal analysis AP obtained done by Army Office of the Provost Marshal tallied 1,300 firearms. Then his second interview, Miller would say he wasn't aware of the memos which had been distributed throughout the Army until AP pointed them out in the first interview. If I have the information in front of me, Miller said, I will share it with you. Other Army officials overstated the losses. Good Lord, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is insane. This is insane. Because one thing I know from experience, being an armor, being a senior non-commissioned officer, running a range, counting ammunition, whether it's artillery, whether it's small arms fire, handling submachine guns. This here, what I'm reading and witnessing, is a failure of leadership all the way around, and no one wants to accept accountability. And we have a big problem with accountability when it comes in this country. I feel, hey man, you do something wrong, fix it. That's blatant. Please hit that subscribe button. That was my train of thought. Hit that subscribe button, please. I think that's sad. And unfortunately, I think this is where I'm going to do a video after this one. But this is what that young lady didn't understand. I personally believe the incident at Fort Hood with Vanessa Guillen, especially Vanessa Guillen, was something on this magnitude. There may have been some type of sexual assault stuff in there. I don't think that happened to her. Not by this individual. They claim that was the scapegoat. They used him to get out of that. But remember, and I'll elaborate on this more in the next video, but remember, she went down to the arms room to look for a weapon that they knew that wasn't there. So I think that whole thing was a setup against her, and she didn't realize it. And she walked in on something, or she had some specific questions someone sent her down there, but unfortunately her chain that came in and failed her, or they believe they possibly was in on it. The girl lost her life. But anyway, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and that is not good. We have weapons from the military just floating around out here, and it hasn't hit the news at all. This came out 2 days ago, and the alarms hadn't went off yet. That's a problem. That needs to be investigated by Congress. That needs to be investigated by Congress to find out who's dropping the ball. These weapons are getting on our streets, killing people, and are probably going to end up in your neighborhood. So do me a favor, contact your congressman and see what are they doing about these stolen weapons from these military installations before we lose more lives, unnecessarily lose more lives in our country. The weapons that the taxpayers paid to fight the enemy overseas are now being used to kill people within our own communities. Anyway, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Hey, thank you for your time.